Good morning and happy Monday. We are back from fall break, and I did have obviously 2 weeks between my last book talk to read books, and I didn't read as much as I might normally. I took a little book break. I had a book hangover. I read one book and it just hit me kind of hard, and it took me a minute to move on. And apologies in advance, I'm not going to increase the sizes of these, like they're super tiny. But the first couple I'm talking about, we probably won't ever have in the library unless someone just literally comes ask for them. So when I talk about the last two, I'll see what I can do. So the first one I read was The Fashion Orphans. And it is about two women in their 40s, early 50s, whose mother has died. And they're expecting, maybe there'll be $100,000 for them to split. They're not expecting much of anything. But it turns out their mother has cut off part of her bedroom in her pre-war New York apartment and made it into a giant closet, which is like a museum to Chanel. And so they're like, what even? And I start looking at prices. And I'm like, But the point is, their mother's lawyer says you have to make a plan of what you're going to do with these clothes. You're not allowed to borrow them. You can't take them out of the apartment. You have to have a plan, and you have to present it to me before anything can move forward. So they can't just like fire sale all these clothes and take the money. It was a really good book, but I'm thinking most teenagers probably aren't going to want to read it. The second one, Game On by Janet Evanovich, is number 28 in the series that starts with One for the Money, Two for the Dough. It's about Stephanie Plum, who's a bounty hunter. And I know I've talked about them before because I enjoy me some Stephanie Plum in my life. Pretty easy to read books, simple concepts, good characters. I definitely did enjoy it. Getting His Game Back, which is also an adult book, but it is about a young man who is, he's probably in his mid-20s, I don't know, early 30s, who is in therapy. And he thinks because he's in therapy, he's never going to find someone because what black woman is going to want a black man in therapy? But of course, as it turns out, that the therapy is the least of the problem. The problem is that when he hits his depressive stage, which often happens at the same time of the year, which happens, right? He spirals so hard and so fast, he stops going to therapy, and no one can reach him. So it's a great love story, but it's also great about mental health and relationships and family and how you can be there for someone, but it's not always enough. Sometimes they need more help than you can give them. I really, really liked it. A lot of good stuff. Okay, so The Last Laugh is the second one to The Final Insult. And if you remember me talking about it, there was 3 point of views. There was the girl who was in the car with this girl's parents the night they disappeared. And there was a Black Panther. Those were the 3 point of views. In this book, the girl whose parents disappeared, her cousin, and an orangutan. I'm not a big fantastical book lover, but I really could get behind the idea. The orangutan did sign language in the first book. This is an actual thing. Orangutans can do sign language. And so all of hers, instead of being sort of poetic the way the Panthers were, they were more like stream of conscious phrases, like danger, danger. She calls the girl lost found child, and the panther is black shiny slick, kind of thing. It was incredibly twisty for being a pretty straightforward murder mystery book. It was good, and we will have it eventually, but we don't yet. If you want to start the first one, though, we do have the initial insults in. So let's see if I can bring up the very last one, which we don't have yet, but we should. We will probably be buying. The Nature of Witches. So it's spooky season. I'm trying to read a little spooky stuff, but I'm not a big fan of horror, so I have to play it on the safe side. And this is a book about witches who are strong in their seasons. So there are spring witches and summer witches and autumn witches and winter witches. And it's not like they don't have any powers the rest of the season, but they are the strongest during their season. And so they go to this boarding school to study their craft, right? Well, there's one girl, and she's an ever witch, which means in every season she has strength. So she sort of passes through the phases of the other witches. And she's very concerned because in her life she's already lost her parents, she's lost her best friend, And so she's very withdrawn, and the whole book is about her finding her strength and finding herself and being secure enough to reconnect to people. It was just witchy enough, and just, it's literally teenage witches save the world from climate change. It was great. I really did enjoy it. And like I said, we'll have it eventually, but we're still waiting on that money to make some big purchases. If you guys read anything good, feel free to come talk to me about it. I'm always looking for something.